right, welcome to the Meshpoint podcast. And tonight we're excited to have Coach Thad Fortune. He's the head coach at Midland High School out in Texas. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank y'all so much for having me on. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I know we're definitely excited to have you. Why don't you talk? We always kick it off with your background, like where you grew up, where you played, where you've coached, and kind of that's gotten you up to Midland at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. I grew up in a town called Anson, which is it's a 2A school, about 20 miles north of Abilene. So it's about 3 hours west of Fort Worth. And my graduating class was 60, just to kind of give context. I know classifications are different everywhere. But anyway, I 2A, kind of small school athlete, got to do it all, had a blast. We thought we were really good. We probably weren't that good, but we thought we were good. And then from there, I played football at East Texas Baptist University, Division III school out in Marshall. And so went out there. I mean, I was a West Texas kid, went out there, had a great experience, played a little bit towards the end of my career there. And so just and really even leading up to that, I kind of knew I wanted to coach, and kind of feel fortunate in that regard that I didn't. I don't know. I just knew, even in high school, kind of my senior year, I just remember telling my high school coach, I think I want to be a coach, and that was, I didn't really overthink it and just kind of started working that direction. So I finished up at ETBU. My first job was at Stephenville High School, which is a great Texas program. I was really fortunate to get in there. I was a junior high. I was a 7th grade C team coach and, freshman basketball. So it was a welcome to coaching real quick for me. But it was, I was able to be around really I was kind of on the junior high staff and the freshman basketball staff. So I wasn't in the mix really, but I was just kind of watching everything. And it was neat to see a high school program, how it worked, and especially a great program like Stephenville. But I got the opportunity to go back to ETBU after 2 years at Stephenville for a guy that I played for, hired me as his receiver coach at ETBU, ended up surviving one staff turnover there and moved, kind of coach receivers and quarterbacks for 4 years. I started working a quarterback camp about my second year at ETBU with a guy named Alan Wardis, who runs and I'm biased, but I think it's the best quarterback camp around in Texas, called Air It Out. And so I started working for him in the summers, and that really led to my biggest break. Is I just got a call of the blue from Blake Felt, who was the head coach at Odessa Permian. And I was looking to get into high school. We had just had our first kid, so I was looking to get into high school and help my wife stay home. You're not making any money coaching D3 ball. And out of nowhere, I get a call from Permian asking me to be the OC. And it was kind of like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. And so that was it. I was an offense coordinator at Odessa Permian for 7 years. A really neat experience, and obviously an incredible place to coach high school football. I feel like I grew a lot and learned a lot about, what a good high school football program looks like and how it operates year round, day to day. And the guy that hired me at Odessa Permian left 4 years in, and he took the athletic director job over here in Midland, which is about 15 minutes from Odessa. And so the Midland High job came open last year, I guess into 2020. And anyway, I was hired at Midland High in February of 21. So that's kind of how I got to where I am.
That's awesome. And you said you coach quarterbacks and receivers over at ETBU?
Yes, sir. I went as a receiver coach, and then so I started as a receiver. Years 2 and 3, I coached quarterbacks, and which is, what I was trying to get back to that position.
Okay.
I played quarterback, and so and then after my 3rd year at ETBU, we had a staff turnover. I was retained but moved back to receivers.
Gotcha.
And so I feel like I've some guy. I'm one of those guys. I only know offensive side of the ball, for better or for worse. I kind of admire and envy those guys. I got some guys on my staff that I feel like can coach anything because they've done it all. And I feel like it's kind of, I've taken a deep dive on quarterback and now obviously quarterback in the option play, but I'd have a long way to go on the other side of the ball.
Gotcha. Well, in that journey, I'm sure there's been some guys you've had to lean on, talk to, help you make some decisions over the years. Maybe talk about a couple guys that are mentors to you that have really helped you get where you are today.
Yeah, no, I think it starts for me with my high school coach, Daryl Cash, who just, is one of those deals. I was just grateful. He was just a great man and it ran a great program. And I was in Anson. We weren't going to win a state title. We weren't going to do any of that kind of stuff, but we worked hard and we worked hard every day. And I just learned so much about just what it takes to, like I tell the kids at Midland High, like you do all this just to have a chance. There's no guarantees in it. And so I just learned I really feel like I was fortunate, my high school athletic career to do everything. We had a little success. We made the playoffs and stuff. And, but he was really I had several great coaches in Anson, but my head coach, Daryl Cash, really kind of inspired me. The guy that recruited me at ETBU was a man named Ralph Harris, who's passed away in the last year. But he was the only guy that recruited me, and that's 5.5 hours away. It's just, and this is before, I'm sending out VHS tapes. I still remember making them in my kitchen. And we're sending out VHS tapes and a letter, and to, you have no idea what to expect. And so to get essentially two schools, 2 phone calls, and one of them was him, and to be recruited, that was the coolest thing that ever happened to me. After my junior year there, he was let go. My junior year at ETBU, they hired a guy named Mark Sartain, who even to this day I would call a mentor. He's just retired from the high school ranks in East Texas, but just a great man. Taught me a lot about being a coach and also pursuing Christ as you're a coach, and what that looks like on just a day-to-day basis. So to have the opportunity to play for him and then go back and work for him was invaluable. It's kind of the timing. After 3 years as a coach at ETBU, the university made a head coaching change, and I was retained by a guy named Josh Ergel, he's the tight ends coach at Florida International right now. But from Coach Ergel, I feel like I really learned how to run a football practice and just like what it takes to the energy required, the effort put into it, how detailed and planned you should be. And I really just took a lot from that year with Coach Ergel. And that staff was great. Scotty Walden was the offensive coordinator. He's a head coach at Austin P now. And there were several great coaches on that staff, and I was fortunate to be able to work alongside those guys. But then, like I kind of mentioned earlier, when I was at ETB, I started working these quarterback camps, and I was working for a guy named Alan Wardis, who was the OC at Hardin Simmons for 25 years probably, and really in Texas. And not a lot of people. He may have had more influence, outside of the air raid guys than any college coach in Texas. Just what Hardin Simmons was doing a long time before anybody else was doing. I mean, it's unbelievable what he was doing before anybody else was, and just how connected he is, and how many people. He's a good friend of mine and a mentor, and I'm honored to say that. But a lot of, I don't know, hundreds for sure, hundreds of coaches in the state of Texas lean on him for all sorts of stuff. And what a great guy. And so I can't say enough about him because, he let me work his camps, and it turned out that I was working his camps, and they were really, I worked them for 3 or 4 summers, and, you're just working them because you need a little extra cash. And it really turned into a 3 or 4 year job interview. Because Coach Feld at Permian was in need of a quarterback coach and an OC. And he didn't really know Coach Wardis. They were acquaintances, but he knew Coach Wardis has a reputation of just knowing good coaches. And so he called Coach Wardis and said, "Hey, I need quarterback coach OC." And once again, like one of those pivotal moments that changed my life is Coach Ward said, well, you need to call this guy. I mean, that's, it's literally, I'm just a product of knowing the right people, and hopefully I did a good job for them. And so got to Permian, and I guess recently, working for Blake Felt at Permian, who's won a state title down here in Texas, and just now he's my boss. He's the athletic director at Midland ISD now. But if I hadn't spent 7 years at Permian, I don't think I would. I know I wouldn't be ready to be a head coach. There's no question in my mind. And so to get to work for him and the preparation that he required from his staff every day, and just that really grew me a lot as a football coach.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You had a front row seat, man. How it's supposed to be. That's awesome.
No doubt. It was just once. I mean, I just can't. I'm indebted really to those two guys. I mean, obviously, I can look back and see how each step built on the other, and without one of them, the next one doesn't happen. And it's maybe just because they're more recent, but Coach Wardus and Coach Felt, just such huge influences, and not only in my coaching career, but in my life as well. And so those guys, I've just been really fortunate to be, to work under great people and to learn, and then and hopefully, I mean, that's the story for a lot of guys, and hopefully I can be that to a younger coach one day as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Coach, let's talk a little football now. Why the option? Talk about, why you transitioned to the gun flex bone, which makes, I think, you guys a little unique to traditional, under center flex bone teams, and what advantages that may have.
Yeah. So only thing I knew when I was at ETBU as a quarterback, we were trying our heart out, but I think we were in 4 different systems, 4 years. When I worked for Coach Sartain at ETBU, we were really an I team, a lot of 20 personnel, but he was really the first guy, Mark Sartain, that kind of introduced me to the pistol. He started getting in the pistol, I think, before he started. I mean, obviously Nevada was in it. And then he started kind of getting right into it, not long after those guys did. And so I learned a lot about the pistol, really working for him, and I played in it just a little bit. But when I was coaching, and so coaching at ETBU, we were mainly 11 personnel, just inside out zone, outside zone, counter, spread stuff. And all I really knew is I wanted an identity. And I kind of felt as a coach and as a quarterback, I always felt this way, that I was identityless when it came to offensive scheme. And, there were teams in our conference that you knew exactly what they were going to do, and they still did it. And I just always kind of envied that. Like, man, what they're about to do, and they still do it so well, it doesn't matter. And so I just always kind of wanted something like that. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I wanted an identity offensively. And so I get the call from Permian, and I'm thinking that I want to be an underneath kind of 11 personnel. I really like underneath stuff. That's kind of what I was really, honestly, I was just like grasping for stuff that I thought I knew. And so anyway, long story short, I didn't know what I was. And Coach Felt told me they'd been spread the year before at Permian. And Coach Felt was kind of coming into a situation he was having to turn around, and he thought they needed a change. And so he kind of told me at the end of the interview process, by the way, we're going to run the option out of the pistol. And little did he know how desperate I was. I was looking for a high school job, much less the coordinator job at Permian. That he could have said, I tell people all the time that he kind of set the course for me. Because if he would have said, hey, we're about to go 5 wide, don't you ever think about running the ball, I'd have been like, all right. I mean, like that's how open to everything I was. He could have said, we're about to go straight T. And I'm like, all right, well, here, let me see what I can find. And so I was this is in the spring of 14. Once again, all I wanted was an identity. I just wanted to be able to hang my hat on something. Yep. And whatever came out of his mouth next, I was about to go try to get as good as I could at it. and he happened to say option out of the pistol. And so that's literally how I got into it. At that time, Ferris State was still doing it. And so we kind of started looking at those guys and really, and I don't have much contact with those guys or anything, but we learned how to snap the ball from those guys, which seems small, but it's huge for us. I mean, like that, obviously we're not doing anything if we don't feel like we can get a good snap. And so we learned how to snap the ball from the guys at Ferris State. In 2014, we didn't know what we were doing. And we had a good year, but we had great players. Literally my stat that sticks out to me in 2014 is we were going to be an option team and we were going to throw spread concepts. So basically we were going to reinvent football and, everybody was going to want to talk to us. And quickly we were good because of good players, but we were still identityless and we still weren't, I did not feel like I was mastering anything at all. I was just, there's like, one of those deals where you go in every Sunday and you try to figure out how to make it work. And so we were we knew we wanted to be a triple option team. We just didn't know how to do it. I mean, in 2014, we only pitched the ball 13 times, which is like, we just didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know. We were just flying by the seat of our pants. And so I had one, you talk about people you meet and how they influence you. That a couple summers before that, working aired out camps, I had met Chuck Peterson. And, Chuck was the OC at Air Force for, I guess, forever. He's at Navy now. But I had worked, all summer I had got to know Chuck and we talked ball, and I didn't, I just because we're just coaches working a quarterback camp, you don't think anything of it. You're just talking ball and hanging out and trying to survive the Texas summers. But so we realized in 2014, we don't know what we're doing. We need to get better at something. Either maybe we are going to be a spread team, or if we're going to be an option team, we need to learn the option. And so so finally it hit us. We know, and Coach Felt knew Chuck a little bit. It's like, we just need to bring Chuck in. And so Chuck was coaching Orange Lutheran in Southern California at the time. And we flew Chuck in out to Permian. And for 3 days, man, we sat down in a bank conference room over in Odessa, and he just ground our brains to ground beef and just taught us. I'm sure he watched our film and was like, these guys are ridiculous. They don't know what they're doing. And he was right. And so it's one of those deals. I remember vividly that week we had him for 3 days, and just like, he might as well have been talking Chinese to me. And it was and I tell young coaches all the time that want to learn about it, like, I don't know how you learn, but the way I learn is I just stare at a board and draw it up and write it up. Over and it finally, I don't know when it clicked, but I feel like it clicked, and I hope it clicks more. But so he was the one who really taught us the flex bone as far as the rules and how to operate it. And we still had a long way to go on our process to doing it like we wanted, but that really got us started. And so that was, so we're in the pistol. Our toes are at 3 yards. The quarterback's toes are at 3 yards. The B-back's 2 yards behind him. But honestly, outside of that, it's just flex bone principles. And I would say if there are a couple things, I can't sit here and tell. Like Dietrich and Ken Plunk and Tascosa guys and everything, like all those guys are underneath, and like I think it's awesome. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just what I've done. It's just I don't even know how to teach it from underneath. As far as footwork and all the stuff that goes into it, we just started hashing it out. It's just really we just over just a lot of trial and error worked it out. I'd say one thing that we were able to do, maybe that an underneath team, we throw a lot more screens. Like I said, originally we were going to throw the ball, like we wanted to be 50-50. We were about to change the sport. And we weren't good at anything. So, but we just stayed in the pistol. So I wish we could quarterback sneak. I miss that aspect of it. But Outside of that, a lot of guys tell me they like it because they're back away from the line a little bit more. And once again, though, I don't have anything I don't have a good barometer to judge it the other way, because this is all I've ever done.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that like I said, I do think, just from watching guys, and we used to be in Tascosa's district, and I watched a lot of those guys, is we probably throw more screens, more quick screens, more tunnel screens. We probably throw a little more quick game than people. But we're still, even, the story of my off season every year is like, man, maybe I can try to figure out how to throw it just a hair better this year. It's like it's Groundhog Day, and that would be true. That would be true again this winter. We're like, maybe we can, it's like we're searching for, and I'm kind of just like how I feel. I call the mid triple any down and feel good about it. And, inside veer. And it's kind of like searching for that pass concept that we feel that confident in, that we can operate. And that maybe I have not found that. So we're still searching. We throw post will, and we're very, like I said, sometimes I feel like I let people down because they really want to know what's going on. I'm like, we're just in the pistol. And after that, it's just a flex bone.
Hang on now. I was looking at some stats. You had this kid in 2000, man, looked like he threw 21 touchdown passes. Oh yeah.
That was 2020. Had a kid named Harper Terry who could sling it. And, but I think that's when we had a phenomenal receiver, and it's just like, once again, you feel like you're taking crazy pills or something because people just act like you're doing this. What are you doing? It's like, man, I don't know, but I know this. Like, this dude's unguardable one-on-one, and because of what y'all have to do to stop the triple, you have to play him one-on-one. And we threw 21 touchdown passes in 11 games, and the run game did. I mean, it was remarkable because, like if we're going to show triple, they're going to roll, and you're not going to guard that kid on a post corner. It's like one of those type situations. So, I've had years like that where we had a kid who was unguardable, and we would throw post corner and the tunnel screen away for the motion, and it was just ridiculous. And then, the years when we don't quite have a kid like that, we're much more like our only big plays are going to come on play action. And so we look much more like a normal, just a flex phone team, kind of grinding it out and trying to pick our spots. But I've had some good quarterbacks, man, like some dudes that could play. And that kid wasn't. And what I like about option football, and I like good football. Like, like if a guy has a system and he believes in it, and he's just not influenced by the latest Twitter trend ever. Like, I don't care what it is. I just like dudes who have developed a system and believe in it and know the answers and know the ins and outs. And that's why I was attracted to option football, is just because it had so many if-then scenarios. And I could finally quit acting like I was Bill Walsh, and like smarter dudes had already figured this stuff out. And so I don't know where I was going with all that, but anyway, I've been fortunate to have some quarterbacks that could really play. I know what I was saying is, what I like about it is that kid Harper Terry, who's at Eastern New Mexico now. And I love the kid. I tell him this story is when he was a freshman. And my wife always tells me this story. When he was a freshman, he couldn't catch a snap. I mean, he was just so nervous and puckered up. And he just couldn't catch a snap. And I remember I came home spring of his freshman year, and I told my wife, I said, if he's ever a quarterback, you better just pack the bags. And and lo and behold, he became our quarterback, and he was awesome. I mean, just unbelievable. And just because he worked his butt off every day, he just and he screwed up full speed and just kept getting better and was tough as nails. And anyway, so it's good to know that I can be way wrong about kids, because he turned out to be a great one. And that year so at Permian that year we had and Permian obviously has had tons of great football seasons and tons of great football players. But I think, and we had a kid that year, we set that kid had 17 touchdown receptions. I mean, it's unbelievable how open this kid could get. But once again, it was one-on-one, and he was an unguardable high school receiver. So that was a neat year for us. And I was, really happy for that kid, that quarterback to persevere and become the player he became.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Matured a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, Coach, tell the listeners about, what Midland football looks like now, what you brought over from Permian, what you didn't, and how you guys are still in the pistol.
Yeah, no. So we came over, and I was, to be quite, when I saw my biggest deal and I got the job, is that I've got to get a great O-line guy. And that was one thing I just learned at we'd always had great O-line guys at Permian. Yes. Jeff Ellison was our O-line coach. He's the head coach there now. I just kind of saw once, I can draw up all these plays and teach the quarterback. You can do all that stuff, but if those guys aren't coached correctly every day, it doesn't matter. And so our O-line coach at Permian, my last year was a guy named Paul Martinez. And so I had to get him. And so I made him my offensive coordinator over here at Midland High. And he's just picked up where he left off at Permian. I think he's the best. So he got our kids playing low and fast and mean and with a chip on their shoulder. And so we're still running the triple. And really nothing's changed. It was interesting for me this year, having to teach juniors and seniors. I was 7 years at Permian. And so by my last season at Permian, I wasn't teaching a senior. That's literally my last two quarterbacks at Permian had never not taken a pistol snap. Yeah. They had never not run the triple. Starting in seventh grade. And so that was a huge adjustment for me. And it really made me a better coach. Because I hadn't had it, like I said, I hadn't had to teach a senior who had started, I don't know. I guess he'd started 15 games maybe as a 6A quarterback, and they were a spread team, and so I had never taught a guy that had a lot of other experience. And you talk about having to really slow down and reteach and learn different ways, because when you're working with a 7th, 8th, 9th grader, a lot of it's kind of crap, we'll just keep running it. After thousands of reps, they're going to figure it out. And it's when it's a senior, you don't have that luxury. We got to get it going. And so I really learned a lot about how to slow it down. I grew as far as a quarterback coach, as far as how to teach the footwork part of it that I had taken for granted at Permian. It just kind of, like a freshman kid just watches the older kids do it. And by the time he's an older kid, he can kind of do it. Just one of those deals. Yeah. And now I'm teaching these older kids, and I really had to get back to the basics of it. And so we just started. It's unbelievable. We started last winter with just working 2-ball drill and working. Just all those basic things that, that we still do every day. But it was, we started those again last week, and it's unbelievable what a year does. It's really like I was telling you, Coach. A year ago when I was. Just painstakingly going through all of it. And now we just hit it and they know exactly what's going on. It's good. So we're still, we kind of made our last few years at Permian, we got away from playing with a tight end. And we got away from running I call it the G, everybody calls it the down. We got away from that, which early on at Permian was a huge play for us. We got away from it the last few years. And so I had already, even before I got the Midland High job, I'd kind of decided I've got to get back to that play. Mm-hmm. And so, and we also got back, I wanted to get back to using the tight end, 1, to run that play, and then 2, to dictate the front a little better. I feel like we were really getting pushed to the boundary all the time. And so that's probably some differences, is that we're really committed to the tight end and getting that out. And that's new to me. We just didn't use one at Permian. We used one in 15 and had a great one in 15. and then didn't use one again really. And so that's kind of neat for me. I'm relearning kind of that option game towards the tight end, which has been really fun. And how it is like, man, I wish I don't know what I've been doing the last few years. That probably should have been. It's like it opens up a whole new world, I feel like. So we're we started that last year. We didn't get to some stuff last year. We didn't get to the counter option, which I really like. Always ran that at Permian. And it really, and I'll say it's funny. We ran the counter option a lot. We were seeing a lot of 4-3, and then we started seeing a lot of odd fronts. And so I guess that's part of it. And I just never worked it enough first and 50 to get real comfortable with it. But we're going to work that again this year. We've already,
right. All right, Coach.
Okay. So anyway, I was just saying, we know we didn't get to everything this year at Midland High. We just, like I said, we're starting from ground zero, which was a really neat experience for me to learn how to teach it from, just when you're talking with varsity kids that had a whole other system, and we were literally starting from square one. At every facet of the game, or offensively. Yeah. And so, but counter option, it kind of was a really good play for us at Permian. We didn't have that with us. I've been real streaky with the rocket toss, and I do think that I do think there's a couple. In my opinion, we're not able from the pistol to run the rocket toss as good as somebody underneath. I just feel like our slot gets pushed back a little further, and the angle doesn't feel good for the core. I don't know. We kind of messed around with it, and then every year I'd like, what are we doing? We don't call it. I'm hoping one day to learn from, like, maybe we won't work it as much or something, or work it and believe in it. But so we're this year I'd say we just kind of we didn't have a very good veer year. Just saw a lot of 50, but we had a great mid triple year and a great midline year. So we ran the crap out of the midline, the mid triple, and the G play, and those were really what we tried to work. I was real proud of our kids. Charge.
All right, cool. Well, Coach, we wanted to ask you about your pass game just a little bit. I know we talked about it earlier in the podcast, but I just wanted to know, because you're in that pistol set, what's your kind of mindset there? I know you said start early on, you wanted to be 50-50. That was a long time ago back in the day, right? Is it all based on your personnel kind of, or?
Yeah, we obviously we carry that. It's funny. We've had years where I feel like play action really hits, and years where it's like it just doesn't. I don't know, but we try to throw post will. We've had more success lately, and I think we're hopefully continue to get in. Is sometimes we have we'll get more of a true 2x2 look probably than most flex bone guys, like a true 2x2 spread look, and just run some switch combinations, which is really, for me, like going way back. That was like our first play action in 14 was just, orbit motion and vertical switch off a little bad veer fake. And it seemed like in 14, when we didn't know how to run the ball, that play was, it was unbelievable. We couldn't run the ball and the play action was open. And then we've had years where we can run the heck out of the ball and they guard everything. It's like, man, it's humbling.
Yeah.
But like I was kind of mentioning, is we'll throw a lot. If we get a soft corner, especially to the boundary, or if we're in the middle of the field, we really would like to throw the backside hitch and just try to steal 5 or 6. And then we'd like to throw the backside tunnel screen to that guy, especially if we're on the hash into the boundary. We'll send the B back to kick the corner. The tackle and guard will set, and then they'll get out. The tackle will get the force. The guard's looking play side back or to safety. The center will set, and then he'll get out he's looking just play side guard as well. And then the backside guard is just looking to pick up any trash. that may be chasing the screen down. So, like I said, we throw that play a lot and I think have found some pretty neat ways to run it. And when we have a guy that's really explosive, we'll try to get it to him with that same concept in a whole bunch of different ways. So we've, we just have it. And so every winter is the same for me when we go on this great search of something we're going to throw and be really effective at. And then I don't know if I'm like a lot of coaches, and it's hard to call it. It's just like, man, this triple play is pretty good play. Like I don't want to waste it down.
Right.
And then like a sack just like destroys my world. I mean, I just don't even. Yeah, and I was like, I'm the biggest fool in the stadium. Why would I even call that play? Just run the trap again. And but we have tried to. It feels like it's been we kind of just like, some years we've had great success throwing the slot drag off play action, just dragging him back across the field. Yep. And then next year's we'll work the post will be there for us. And we have great success on the post will. And then I've mentioned before, sometimes we have great success just tagging the backside receiver on all sorts of stuff and just trying to let him work, post corners, post curls, 10-yard outs, just any ways that we know we're getting soft one-on-one and he's a threat. We'll try to do that. And so we haven't been able to, we work curl flat. I'm not a very good, I watch guys sprint out, and I watch flexbone guys sprint out and they make it look so easy. And I watch spread guys sprint out and they make it look so easy. And then I try to sprint out and it looks like they've never been coached before. So I want to do that. I would say some other things pass game wise that have been really good for us is just a bunch of ways to run the naked. We run the naked off the down play pretty well. We started really in 2017. We started using the backside slot a lot and slipping him out into the flat. So like faking B-back naked, like going B-back toss. And then, we got a 10-yard out from our slot, however you want to think of it. I guess technically the play side slot. And then that backside slot would come behind the line of scrimmage and come on. And that's really been a nice way for us to kind of, we're still getting that flood concept, but just changing instead of it always being the B-back, trying to get different guys in there a little bit. So that's always kind of been fun for us, is trying to find good ways to run the naked. And then really honestly, most weeks we'll try to get some sort of like, man, this may work, or it may be, help the quarterback pick his helmet up type deal. Where we just really hopefully get a look, or, we get on schedule, obviously is the most important thing. We get on schedule and we're able to really establish some sort of run game. And we feel like we've really dialed something up. And so I've always, in most weeks, I say we try to get to it. We'll try to get to it. And it's like all things, when you're having a night where you really got the run game going, it seems like those shots really take off for you. And then when they've kind of got your number, of course, everything's hard. So, but I would say like just consistently year in, year out, really since 15, one thing that we're going to do is we're going to throw the backside hitch. We're going to throw the backside tunnel screen. We're going to throw some sort of drag concept, whether that be dragging the tight end, dragging the play side slot, or, hitting the drag on the naked, have been pretty steady things for us. They've been more I wish like just that we could get more post will concepts going. Like we just, when they hit, but sometimes I think a lot. I don't know if it's because we don't do enough switch blocking. So I don't know if that's such an easy tell when they see, our slot look like he's heading to the wheel. That's one thing I do like though. When we get like in a true 2x2 set, like a spread set, no matter who's forcing, we always switch block it. And I don't know, because usually I know everybody, we don't read it out like on the edge, like, like how guys just their slot takes their read steps and I don't feel like I'm a smart enough coach to teach them to do that. So we on normal perimeter plays, the slots arcing the safety, who's usually the force, but I mean, he's going to arc the safety and the wideout's going to dig out the corner unless we make a switch call. But when we spread it out, for whatever reason, I've had more success no matter who they're forcing, is that we always switch block it. And I know you don't want to, in theory, you're not supposed to put the wide out on the force player. But we just teach him to go flat and be ready to crack him. And so then I say all that to say, I think that's helped us. And I do like, and the one reason I like that is because that vertical switch play action, at least it looks a little more, you know what I mean? Like I post will, well, I love it and we still call it and it's always going to be a good play. I don't know if we have much run game that really looks like post will, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just for us. And I'm always interested, man, like when Air Force really gets it going, they start dialing up some sweet play actions. I want to get more, I've thought about, we haven't really, we've worked it here and there, like running play action off mid triple, but truly bringing my pitch man, like bringing him on the snap. So really, I think that's a great sell if you can protect it. And then we've had, and I'll tell you, it's another just good solid play action that we've always used. And I don't know if it's unique to being in the pistol. I think every flex guy uses it, but really, using orbit motion on the backside and hitting him coming out the backside has won us a few games just when they get in such a habit of, kind of forgetting about that guy.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're still on the great quest to learn how to pass the ball and run the triple. And I'm going to get there one day.
I believe you, Coach.
Yeah, no doubt.
I believe you.
I hope unless how I operate technology is any indication, I'll never get there.
Yeah, if that was the issue, we all wouldn't get there. Trust me, that's not the problem. We're good. Hey, so back when you were at Permian, our guy Scotty D put some clips on Telegram.
Oh yeah,
of you guys using some false pulls, man. So if you would just talk about that a little bit, why you used it, and
no doubt,
and how you used it.
I'd always thought about stuff like we had just always talked about doing that kind of stuff. We had, and I've seen Navy do it a little bit, but what kind of got my wheels turning on it was when we would play Central runs a 4-2-5 and they do a great job. And we had, we run the trap a lot, the long trap. We call it 26-27, but that had just been such a good play for us. But of course, in the 4-2-5, you're always short on that backside backer. I mean, I say, hopefully you can work your tackle to teach him to veer backer to backer. And it can look beautiful when it all hits, but if he chases that play side backer out or, and so I'd always think about, man, there's got to be a way, to run trap action, but maybe read that 3. And instead of blocking back on the 3, why don't we send the center back to the backer we can't get to anyway? And, like a midline look off the trap. And I saw Navy do it when they had Malcolm Perry a few times. And it's pretty, man, it was awesome. And so, but we never did it. We worked it a few times. We had never did it. But so I started thinking about really going versus our defense every day at Permian in practice and, talking to our guys in the office and just about how, keyed in their backers were to our guards. And so they're playing a 50 and also we would use it. So we're trying, I wanted to veer the tackle, but if we just use base rules and veered the tackle and they gap exchange, well, then we're not going to have anybody for that play side backer because we can't load it because we got to arc that play side slot, so we were just in that pickle. We are playing a school called Arlington Martin, who's really loaded, has great players every year. Defensively, they're awesome. And I just didn't like our matchup. I mean, I knew that we weren't going to be able to, it wouldn't be wise for us to just try to scoop out their nose all night long. with our center and backside guard. I just thought, man, they're going to wad it up. It's just, that's asking a lot of our kids. We've got to either double that nose or somehow be able to veer the tackle and base that nose. But I just didn't think we could scoop him, I guess is what I'm getting at. And so they were in a 55 front. And so we just called it, I think we called it 12 and 13 pull. We would just, so if we were running an inside veer to the right, we were scooping the backside, and we told that guard, for you're going to run it just like 27, go kick out that end. And then that pull tag, usually versus a 50, our tackles base rule, he'll slip, he'll outside release that 5 technique. And so when he heard that pull tag, now he would veer. And so he would veer, and that pull tag it was pretty sweet. It would do just enough to that play side backer to where he couldn't get out of the box. And we were able to get the veer on him. And so, like I said, we did that in 18. We didn't get to it this year. I think it's a great, when you got those guys that are, the backers are just playing so fast and they're more athletic than you. And it was like, cause those guys were really good. So I just wanted, it was just, one of those other things that was a simple addition, but just to slow their eyes down a little bit. They're getting a pull and guard, but then they're getting dive at them. So at least they're going to stay in the box. You know what I mean? At least we can and then we can finally get a nice clean read, because that D end is going to squeeze. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things that for us, versus that 50 that I really liked. And I thought we did something else that week. But yeah, we used that influence with that guard pulling, and it was nice. And like I said, we didn't get to it this year, but I think it's a great answer for some 50 fronts. And you guys may know more about, like that midline trap look. I've always wanted to, I've screwed around drawing that thing up so many times. I get nervous because it's like, oh my gosh, how's this not going to work? And that's the kiss of death. So that was something that really helped us that week. And we were outmatched, but it gave us a chance to get the ball going. I think my quarterback did a great job reading it. And you know how it is. You're looking to get out clean to 1 and 2 and get 3 cut. And so often when we'd run into those blue bloods out of the Metroplex, they would do such a good job on the interior. We just, we couldn't get out there. Yeah. We couldn't get it separated and get our reads clean. And I think it paired well, because we do, it's just kind of one of those plays. The trap has always been a good play for us. And so, of course, those backers are, hey, when that guard goes, you go getting his hip. So I would, hopefully we can kind of get back to that, because we see a lot of 50. And when I was actually thinking about just that, to me, for me anyway, I think that's kind of an uncharted territory that I haven't explored enough, is like using false reads. With option, because we run a little slot reverse all the time when we pull the guard, and we base number 1 on the backside, and that guard just locks up on number 2, and we run it all the time. And we need, I don't know why I was thinking about that the other day. I need something going away from that guard, because we always do it.
I'm gonna say a big trend in football right now is the running the buck sweep with an RPO, because those 2 guards pull, and then bam, you got the RPO replacing it on the backside there. Yeah. I spent some time running a single wing in 2020 with Coach Darlington, and he's a big false puller, or call them key breakers. You know what I mean? To get those guys running one way, and then you hang them, and then bam, you're out the door the other way.
Yeah, I need it. And I was thinking, I was like, man, I wonder how you could do something away from the G, because it's like when we get in a 3-man surface and that motion heads that way, I mean, everybody knows what's about to happen. We're about to try to get that G and that C gap. It's like, man, if we could even do that and reverse the quarterback, but do something back the other way, that would really, once again, I think it's just about like trying to just slow, you know what I mean? Your bread and butter is always going to be your bread and butter, but if you can give them, you know, something to slow their eyes down,
Yeah.
It only can help your bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Great stuff. Coach, one last question before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
Maybe couldn't you leave us with a drill you feel is vital to the gun flex bone, equipment needed, organization time, something like that?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. So in the gun flex bone, we're trying to mesh. We're trying to mesh where an under center team would mesh. And so from what I know, watching under center guys, you know, they're working back on everything. Where we're working forward. Now the rub there is that I have to work really hard with my guys to like on their feet, like not to get, you know, I want our feet in concrete, like most option guys I know. But when we're working forward, a lot of times if I don't work hard on it, our feet get sloppier looking than what they should. And it really hurts us on our reads. And, you know, you just don't, it affects everything after that. Once this was something that really helped me once I got out here to Midland, because I had to slow everything down, and I couldn't. I took so many things for granted after doing it for so long. But we do a lot of, as far as teaching the quarterbacks footwork, I do a lot of stuff on the whistle where everything is on command. And so, just for instance, on the inside, let's talk midline, mid triple, because that's what I teach first, kind of what we hang our hat on in the option game. You know, our footwork is our backside foot steps to the center's backside foot, and then we slide. So it's step slide. And so we work that on the whistle. You know, of course, we're with the B-backs, but we work that, you know, it's first whistle. They take their first step. Second whistle, they slide to the mesh point. And then I say hit, and then the B-back runs the path and you know, loose arms, and we mesh. But then what I have to work, and then I make the quarterbacks freeze, just to emphasize like them getting their feet in the ground and not moving. And like I said, I don't know if to me, it seems like it's more of a thing you have to worry about coming out of the pistol than when you're coming from underneath. Because what'll happen in the pistol is like the quarterback will never stop. Like he'll just kind of start working downhill. And in my opinion, he never bubbles off the mesh. Mm-hmm. It gets real cloudy. He'll ride it too long. He'll start shuffling, you know, like he's doing some sort of power read thing out of the gun. And it's like, it just doesn't work. You've got to get your feet set. You got to get that ball, you know, hip level over your back knee and ride knee to knee. And then you bubble and go and play. And so we work that drill. We just mesh drill for us every day is we work the midline path, then we work the inside veer path, but on that rhythmic deal with me controlling the quarterback's feet. Uh-huh. And then that drill takes us straight to 2-ball drill, which for us is like layup lines. I mean, we do it starting day one. I mean, we'll do it. You know, I hope that one day coach late in December and that'll be what we do first in practice. That's what we do in warm up. Is just to, you know, is to get our met. And then we go from 2-ball, you know, we're going to work mid triple both ways. Then we work inside veer both ways. And if we've allotted enough time, then we go from 2-ball to 1-ball drill. And that's where I like, you know, and then we can start giving the quarterback looks and start making him make decisions. And so that's kind of our daily routine. Another thing that I learned coming over to Midland that I kind of knew at Permian, but once again, I just took things were already kind of rolling. You know, every year, especially when I was teaching young kids at Permian, we go through meshes and you know, we do it all. And then we'd add a center to the mix. And it was like, we'd never seen a football. You know, it was just complete shrapnel. And so since I've been here at Midland, we've never done 2-ball drill or a mesh drill without a live center. Yeah. And I think that really, I know, like it really sped the process up for us because I didn't start. And I think underneath, it may not be as big of a deal, but in that pistol, you know, you're getting a perfect snap from the coach or the quarterback when you're learning it all. And then all of a sudden you're getting it coming out of a rear end and it's not perfect. And it's just the whole new world. And we'd get so frustrated just starting over whenever we added the center to the mix. And so I've encouraged guys that want to get into the pistol option stuff is like, if you're going to, now I think, the guys that do it from 4 yards and are more zone read based, it's probably not as big a deal to them. But when your toes are at 3 and your B-back's 2 yards behind that room, the margin of error is pretty small because hopefully we're hitting it. If it's slower than underneath, it's only by a hair. We're still trying to hit it. And there's a lot of moving parts for the quarterback to get his feet down. So that's been, I think, in installing this at Midland, it's been really huge for us we just rep the crap out of that. They've never in a mesh, in an option drill instance, they don't ever take a snap from just from me or from a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's when, it's kind of like, man, I sacrificed some indie time with the center on the boards and I don't like that, but if you don't get the snap, then, it doesn't matter.
So, like that.
And then everybody's mad. But once again, really breaking that quarterback footwork down and controlling the mesh has really been a game changer for me, just like installing it and teaching it. And I think cut down on our learning curve a little bit. So those are something that we do every day. Is working hard on that. And then just speaking to the slots, while we're doing mesh drill, the B-backs and quarterbacks are doing that mesh drill where I've got them slowed down, working hard on that. This year I've got 2 great slot coaches, Mike Sadler and Chad Head, that do a great job for me. And this year we started working what is called a block grid. And so we just, every day while we're doing that, like the slots are going through, they're running the 4 path, which is the path they take. We call the 4 path. That's the path they take on the midline when they're the play side slot, stepping when they're inside foot, they're running through the crack of the tackle on the 4, as if there was a head up 4, so they run the 4 path and they block a dummy. Then they run the 5 path, step with their inside foot right through the 5 technique. Like we're load blocking on the inside veer. And then they run an arc path. When we get full pads on, we'll scoop and we'll get on the ground. I know we can cut. I know a lot of high school guys can't cut. So we'll get on the ground and cut the tackle dummy. But even like right now in off season, when we get to work that stuff, we put a towel down and we just scoop that towel with our inside hand. And so we'll go 4 path, 5 path, arc and scoop, and then we'll go arc and scoop off of our twirl motion. And so that's really helped us like teach those blocks as not so much teach them as a part of their skill set. Like it couldn't matter, like when I'm talking to a slot, like it doesn't matter what the play is. If you hear the word load, you do this, now right. Obviously they only hear it really on the veer, but I use that as an example. Or if we tell you to run the 4 path, it's probably going to be midline, but maybe we got something else going. You run the 4 path. And then the last one we do is to work the G play. And it's something that we got from Harding where they use the phrase steal the C gap. And so we step with our outside foot, have a coach. If he squeezes, he bounces around that coach. If he sits, steal the C gap and go fit up on that backer. Yeah. So those daily drills, I think, we're able. I was really proud of our whole team and our staff this year, but like our slots did a great job, I thought, of really knowing what to do, not turning it down, and being great, team players. And really, that's such a cool position because it's like, that's a football playing position right there. They got to do so much and be so smart and physical and tough, but still handle the ball. So I really try to take a lot of pride in those guys and get them to take pride in their work too.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on, man. But before we let you go, I'm sure the listeners are going to want to get in touch with you. What's your best? What's their best way to get a hold of you to talk some football and some pistol
Yeah,
flex fun.
For sure. Just my cell phone number is area code 325-660-2642.
Okay.
And man, they're more than welcome to reach out to me. And then my Twitter handle is @coach_fortune. So whatever is easiest for people. I once again, man, I didn't, I've been influenced, and so many guys have been so good to me talking ball that I'm honored people would even think about calling.
No, you'd be surprised, Coach. There'll be a lot of folks hit you up, man.
I think my wife just looked at me crazy throwing out my cell phone number, but maybe I should have. We throw out the landline number. If we had
just tell her there's only 3 people that listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
there's only 3 listeners, babe. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. That's all good.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hey, I'm once again sorry I was having y'all scramble. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah.